My name is Koob Johannes. People call me Mr. Yo here. I teach world history.
I'm Madeline Maggard. I am a Spanish teacher at Jesuit.
I am Mr. Acevedo. I am the Stage and Film Department Director.
Obviously, teaching with everyone here in normal conditions is what every teacher has been trained to do and is used to doing through experience. I think even having all the kids at home it would be easier than hybrid. I think when you have a group of students both in the classroom and outside the classroom, and you're expected to engage both groups of students with similar types of activities, it becomes very difficult.
I definitely think hybrid learning affects my ability to teach. I don't think anyone is as effective in a hybrid environment, whether that's the educator or the learner, as they are when everybody is in the same environment simultaneously.
I find it very challenging to make both parties fully engaged because you're not thinking in one modality. You're not thinking, okay, everyone's online or everyone's in person.
And not everybody's an auditory learner. There are so many different learning styles. I think it's very difficult to accommodate or reach all different learning styles in a hybrid environment.
Advantage, it decreases the likelihood of people getting sick with the COVID. I think that by having the hybrid model, you at least decrease the amount of population density, which will hopefully decrease the spread of the pathogen, right? Or pathogens.
One of the aspects of hybrid learning that is an advantage is that since there is a smaller number of students in the classroom, it does feel more quaint and as if you get a chance to interact a little bit more with the students that are present.
The downside, of course, is that the quality of engagement and education, there will be a decline. When I say decline, I don't mean in terms of like what the skills and knowledge necessarily are, but how they're disseminated, the ways in which we engage students. And for me, I wouldn't argue that's a change for the better.
The disadvantage, though, is the opposite, of course, and that is that the rest of the people are online and they're possibly missing out a little bit in those moments where you feel more connected to the kids that are in the physically with you in the room.
Yeah, I think that teachers should be recognizing that if half your population is at home, there's no way for you to manage those students and what they're doing.
I think that trying to give a closed note test or quiz is almost like fighting a battle that you almost can't win.
So you put students at a disadvantage that they're in the classroom if you're trying to hold some strict model of no open note quizzes or tests.
While I think it is a little idealistic to think that people are going to be disciplined enough to resist the temptation to look for information outside of the browser window that you're in, I think it almost makes it beneficial in a way to say refrain from using Google Translate, for example, but consider using your vocabulary list and the notes that you've taken as your resources.
The reality of it is that you're going to have kids at home that are probably going to succumb to temptation. We've just acknowledged that, yeah, like if we're doing something, that it should be open note or it should not be dependent upon whether or not they have their notes or not. Like we've switched from doing multiple choice type tests and we've stripped that out and we only have written versions of it, right? So now I'm getting to see a kid just actually produce their writing and research, which won't be dependent upon those notes.
And the teacher can ask questions that require a little more synthesis of the information, things that are harder to find quick answers to from the internet.
And now with students having to separate within the room as well as half the students outside the room, this ability to quickly let kids collaborate has become difficult, so to the point where we really do either whole group or individual work. We don't really do we don't do small group work, which I find and I think that students like and find at least as a change up and a mixture of what they want in their education.
The opportunity to interact seems so important to me. Has seemed so important to me these last weeks that I've tried to create opportunities for students to work together and collaborate more frequently than I would have given that we are in a hybrid environment.
It makes you realize like how much proximity matters, right? Like I think we kind of learned this though even when we went to e-learning back in March, is that a lot of what we do in the classroom is not just about here's the stuff to know and learn or how to do or the skill you have to demonstrate. A lot of it's like relational stuff, and it becomes more difficult to make learning relational when you have spatial dynamics that are limiting that.
I think the dependence that we have on technology during e-learning is really a double-edged sword. We've already become profoundly aware of the effects, both good and bad, that technology has, that screen time has on our brains, on how we interact and treat other people. It is probably increasingly more so in that today, last period, for example, or my last class of the day, I found my students numb to trying to interact. I'm sure it was partially because it was the end of the day and they were tired. But I also think that because there's so much screen time required for people, it almost becomes important to try to close those screens, and I've tried to do that more frequently in the classroom. When the kids are in the classroom, I've tried now to have them close their screens and consider working from a piece of paper.
I think you can look at this in a positive way, right? I mean, if we were back, if I might do it back in my day, right? We didn't have this technology around, so if we were in this current context, it would just be like, here's a packet of things, go do this at home by yourself, and then come back on the days that you come. I think the beautiful thing about technology is that it's allowed us to have some degree of connection, right? Where you can have some type of interaction.
I am nervous, like everybody else is, or many of us are, I suppose, about full capacity. However, I am very excited. I think that it's a good nervous. It'll push us back into being sure that we are good with our hygiene, good with cleaning the desks, etc. I think it's even more important that everybody keep their masks up and that we remind each other of those good behaviors that help keep us healthy. I think it's where we need to go. I do not at all question or feel any kind of resentment. I'm a little nervous. I think that's normal, but I'm ready.
To me, it's like it's this mixed bag where I'm excited that we finally will have both cohorts back together. On the flip side, I'm also, like I said, still cognizant that we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? And there's this balance of, yes, I'm excited for the teaching dynamics of us being back together, but I'm fearful for the staff that may be at risk of becoming seriously ill. Which weighs more, right? Like, how should I be feeling when I know there's this joy, but there's also this fear and this sadness that goes along with it? I'm very torn with that because I want to completely be like the students who are just like, yes, we're coming back together, it's awesome, but we're called to be people that care for the least of us, right? And obviously the students are the largest population in the school, but the least of us is the staff. And so how do we be considerate of them, because we're all in community together? So I would defer to the voices of everyone to hear their thoughts on this and how they feel about the risk that the staff is being put at as a result of everyone coming back together.
I've seen so far that the attention span of the students has been better in online. You know why? Because I got to see everyone's faces all the time. If I see that somebody is distracted, I can boom right there and look at him and say, go, hey Jack, are you paying attention? Oh yes, I am. Also because they're not able to be talking among themselves, so that means that they are all the time looking at me. Brings me more pressure to my performance as teacher, but at the same time it feels good that you have the attention of everybody all the time. I mean, we're losing that element of the physical interaction. And I love having that with my students. All the students that know me, they know that I am very, very much person to person. I am not allowing open notes just because I trust the students. I might be innocent But I don't know. I trust the students, so I try to go as close as possible to the way we do it in the classroom. So I just keep looking at their faces during the test, and hopefully they're not trying a trick on me. Let me tell you something. My responsibility is to teach students to the best of my abilities. So if I feel that I'm doing my job in that sense, then the test is just a way of proof that, There's no way around it, right? I think we have to adapt to the Microsoft Teams, everything that we're using, the Flipgrid or Zoom or whatever. It's just part of, and I think every school is doing the same thing. So, again, there's no way around it. If you ask me what would be best, well, it will be best to be everybody at the school, person to person, like it always is. But, and again, I speak from my own experience, I think it has worked so far a lot better than what I could have expected before the whole pandemic and the whole thing, All these platforms have been adapting to what's going on, I don't know how it's going to work, I'm a little bit, it's not scared, but a little nervous about having everybody at the school. At the same time, Saad, I think it's wonderful, right? Because everybody's coming back. I mean, we're going to keep the mask on and all that, but having everybody in the classroom and me, myself, going back to school, I'm very excited about it, very happy about it. But we have to be aware we cannot let our guard down. Like, I'm not going to let my guard down. I'm going to be all the time watching, and being separating from, creating distance and things like that. I'm going to try my best not to get into crowds, large gatherings and all that. If we keep doing this, then it might work very well.